Hey cats, what's happening? It's a crappy, rainy, cool day. We're gonna work in the man cave on the Yamaha today. I haven't made a whole lot of progress on it because I'm still waiting for parts. They must be coming from China. I did get some things though. I don't know that's 100% necessary, but I got this gasket kit and I will use some of these, if not all of them. I also bought a carburetor repair kit for the carb, which I haven't started on yet, but I'm going to work on that. I've been working on this gas cap. Now this is the tough thing. I took it apart because there's a spring on here. The spring goes in there. This goes over the spring, and there's a circlip that holds it. And then this gasket, as you can see, actually has a groove inside of it, and it fits into this piece so that when you snap the gas catch shut, it's on a spring. Now the problem I'm having is you'll see how this is, pretty much dry rotted and cracked. It's in really bad shape. You can't find those on the internet. I have looked and looked. In fact, I looked at a couple Yamaha forums, and they're telling me that, these things are obsolete. You can't even find them anymore. Unless you were to find an older bike with a gas tank that still has one that's acceptable. Most of them are in this condition. So, I'm going to have to try something else. I bought this washer, but as you can see, it's quite a bit smaller than this one, and I wasn't able to find one that size. I also bought this one, a garbage disposal gasket that's even smaller, but it actually has the groove in the middle that I would need. So going sight unseen, that's all I could find. But in the meantime, I bought this thing. It's a plumbing part. It's like a rubber cap, and it had a metal clamp on it. But you'll see, I might be able to cut a gasket out of this, because it's got the thickness and it's got the diameter. The problem will just be cutting, it the way that I need it, and then trying to get that groove carved, around the, it might not work, but I mean, it's my last ditch effort, because I don't think this one has enough life in it that is, already it wasn't sealing the gas tank. So today, anyway, I'm going to try to pop the gas tank the dent out of this gas tank. It's got a nice dent in the side of it there. I don't know about this deeper one, but this bigger one should pop out. Now, a couple guys gave me some ideas, which I was kind of aware of. Fill it with water, put it in the freezer, and when the water expands, it pops the dent out. My freezer isn't big enough for this gas tank, for one. If I would have thought about it earlier in the winter, I could have put it outside when it was sub-zero temperatures, but that's not going to work either. Somebody else suggested, make a air fitting for the petcock valve, and then pressurize it with compressed air from my air compressor. But like I said, this gas cap isn't sealing at all, so it wouldn't hold any compressed air. And then again, I'd have to fabricate some kind of a nipple for it to put air in it. So here's what I'm going to try today. And I saw this little trick online, but I kind of came up with my own idea. I bought this at Walmart. It is a bicycle inner tube. When you put air in these things, they really do expand a lot. And this one, as you can see, is heavy duty. It's 30% thicker than a standard bicycle inner tube. So I'm going to try using that. So I've jammed the whole tube in there. I'm going to try to go that way and see what happens. Oh, look at that, it just popped out. It just popped out. That's nice. We'll put a little more air in there. Kind of hard to get a hold of that thing. Oh, the tube popped. Something popped. So, that's all right. We got most of the dent out anyways. And yeah, the tube exploded on me. Well, it probably looks like it's got all kinds of rust on it. So it caught up in that rust and weak spot, and it blew. In the trash. Well, look at that. We got the worst part of that dent out. There's still a little bit of a hole there. So, I don't know. I might try something more on that, maybe not. Well, I did watch another video where a guy used a motorcycle inner tube. It was a little harder to get it down through there, but it was a little heavier of a inner tube. And so I may do that once I take these wheels off and pull the old tubes out of there. I might be able to fabricate, a rubber bladder that I can stuff down in there and see if I can pop that out a little more. But that's a lot better than it was. There's still just a little tiny ding there, and then this one I don't know if I'll be able to get out or not. That's a pretty sharp one there, and it may not come out. So, all right. I'd say that was a 50% success. I don't know. In the meantime that I'm waiting for the shifter parts, I've been doing some other things. So I have cleaned up some of the parts. This was the toolbox that I cleaned up and painted. The battery case that I cleaned up and painted. Of course, you saw that I did the exhaust pipe and the front fender, the air box, and there's another part, this rubber piece up here that they're telling me is impossible to find. See, this has gotten hardened over the years, so it's no longer really useful. The other option is I can just completely eliminate the air box and put an exterior air filter right on the carb. And I may do that. But I got some, I cleaned up the luggage rack. It had some rust on it and whatnot. The brake pedal and the spring for it, I've cleaned up the linkage for the brake. But as I continue to work, I'll disassemble each piece and do my best to see what I can do to clean it up before I put it back together. It's just a fun little project that I can tinker on. There's no rush, no push on it. I can take my time. If it takes me a year, if it takes me 5 years, maybe I'll never get it done. But hey, it's fun to come out here and just tinker around with it nonetheless. In my lifetime experience of being around bikers of all types, I've been around a lot of hardcore guys. And I've often, well, not often, but occasionally I'll hear the term, I'll see you in hell, or, I'll be joining my friends in hell for a cold beer or a warm beer. And it just leaves me to believe, to wonder why anybody would make that statement, why you would even consider going to hell. First off, to make that statement, you're actually acknowledging that there is an afterlife. You're acknowledging to yourself that when I'm done here and I die, I'm moving on to another place. Unfortunately, you're picking the wrong place. If you've done any research at all, any reading at all about what hell actually is, it's eternal torment. It's eternal pain and agony, torture. Nobody in their right mind would want to go there. I mean, have you ever been hurt real bad? I remember back many years ago, I had a kidney stone. Now, I was at work and I started feeling really weird. I wasn't sure what the problem was, but I just knew something wasn't right. And I told my boss, I said, you know what? I'm going to have to go to the hospital because I don't feel right. I really don't feel right at all. And so I got in my truck and I started driving down to the hospital, and I had maybe about 10 miles to go to get to the hospital. I was about halfway there and it hit me with a spasm that I almost lost control of my truck. It was all I could do to pull over on the side of the road. The pain was so intense. And, it finally eased up after a couple minutes, and I was able to continue on and get to the hospital, but it continued to come in spasms. And even with morphine or anything they could give me, there wasn't much relief for that pain. If you can imagine yourself in hell, that would be like eternal, like nonstop. Like there's no relief, there's no getting better, there's no morphine or anything that's going to ease that pain. It's just pure, miserable suffering. And nobody would want to ever live like that. I mean, women have talked about childbirth and how painful that is. And they said it's comparable to a kidney stone, but women like to tell you that it's more painful than a kidney stone. That's pretty painful. And I don't think any woman would want to live the rest of their life with that pain, with that childbirth pain. Anyway, pain is only the lighter side of it. As I said, if you've ever read anything about what hell actually is depicted as, it's no place that anyone would want to go. One of the things that I struggled with when I lost my wife, I think it's going on 4 months now, was what happened to my wife? Where is she now? I mean, people will say, well, once you die, you just go back to the worms. I have to believe there's way more to it than that. I believe our soul, our inner being, you, me, there's more to it than just this body we live in right now. After death, there's more to it. There's a lot more to it. That's why we hear about heaven and hell. So as a Christian, as a born-again guy, I've always been taught that when, as long as you believe in Jesus, you go to heaven. But still, I had a lot of questions, everybody has questions. Now, it's one of those things that you can't reach out and touch, you can't see, so, you have a lot of wondering, like, well, I wonder. And although we can read about what it's like, it's hard to accept. So what a better thing to do than to ask God himself. So I prayed and I said, God, I really need to know what happened to my wife, because yeah, I should know, and I've been told that she's in heaven, but I need to know that. I need some answers. Well, it was strange because within that week I received a package in the mail and I got this book from a woman that I haven't seen in probably 40 years. Yeah. And I don't even know how it came about, but I got this book in the mail, and she had a little note there, and she said, you may want to read this. It might answer some questions for you. Okay, right there is kind of strange, because that's like God answering my question to him. And, it wasn't something that I had planned out, or, I never contacted her. I don't talk to her. I don't even know her anymore. So that was like a real, like, in your face, like, here's your answer. Well, I've been reading this book, and it talks about people that have had near-death experiences. They call it NDEs, near-death experience. People that have died. Now, the stories go back thousands of years. They've been documented for thousands of years of people who've died and come back. And the interesting thing is their stories all begin to kind of correlate into the same basic idea. And a lot of people, all of the people will say, and it doesn't matter what religion they're from, It doesn't, all over the world, whether they're Buddhists or atheists even, they say that when they die, they knew that they left their body. They were levitating, looking down, seeing their dead body, and knowing that they were still alive, but they could see their body down there, whether it was a car wreck or they were laying in a hospital bed or whatever. They could look down and see their corpse. And then the other correlation was that in some form or another, they were swept up towards this light. And the light was brighter than any light you could ever imagine, brighter than our own sun. It made our sun dim compared to that. And inevitably, they all basically said that this light was the supreme being, that it was God, that it was coming face to face with Jesus, and that this light was an overpowering sense of love and acceptance. Many years ago, well, I wouldn't say it was many years ago, a couple of years ago, I guess, my mom sent me this Christmas card, and I put it up here and it's been up here ever since, but it says and these are all the things about Jesus, the Son of God, the cornerstone, the deliverer, the shepherd, the judge, but right here in big letters, bold letters, I am the light of the world. And, I think you could take that literally, that God is the light, the supreme light, and that's ultimately where our spirits are going to end up. Now, it's a dimension beyond our comprehension. You're not living in this body anymore. It's a complete different situation, but it's a spiritual world. So my question was answered. I read the book. Now I know where my wife is. I know that she's in that light, that she's in glory, that she's... All the people that have been there that were sent back for some reason, they arrived there, they arrived in the light, and they were sent back because apparently their work wasn't done here on earth. There was something that had to be finished here before they could return. But every one of them said they didn't want to leave. They wanted to stay there because it was nothing compared to what we have here. Compared to this is like living in a dark sewer compared to what is in store in that next spiritual realm. So, yeah, those are my thoughts today. I feel peace in my heart now that I know where my wife is, and I know that she's in a much better place and she's waiting for me to join her. Know that I have all you guys in my prayers. I sure do. I go out on my walk and I spend a good part of my walk praying, and I pray for each one of you. Whether you're having health problems, you're in pain, you're suffering, perhaps you're suffering a loss, you've lost a loved one, you've lost a spouse, you've lost a child, you've lost a parent, you're grieving, I pray for you. Perhaps you're struggling financially or just mentally, you're having anxieties, a lot of worries, I'll pray for you. I don't know all of you personally. Those that I do know of your problems, I can get a little more personal and pray for. But you know that I pray for all you guys. Pray for myself too, because I need it. I mean, like I said, I confess to be a born again, but I'm like the rest of you. I'm just a man. I got a lot of failures, and I struggle every day to keep my head high and keep pushing on. Well, thanks for watching, cats. If you like my video, hit me a thumbs up. I hope you'll continue to stay with me. We'll continue working on the bike. We'll take some motorcycle rides. We'll get into some cool things. And until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.